Hello, Michael. Welcome to the show. How are you doing?
Hi Jens, good to see you again. I'm good. It's beautiful, sunny in Southern California, but it's cold. It's cold, 16 degrees
Yeah,
Celsius.
terribly cold
Very
from a
cold.
European perspective, at least.
Yeah, and let's do it. What can I
Good.
help you with, sir?
Now, yeah, I was looking forward to the recording already all day. Before we go into creativity and other interesting topics we have discussed before, tell us a little bit about who you are and how did you get to where you are today?
Okay, I was born in Vienna in Austria, and I was a sick child, and I went to school when I was 7. And then I got the second whammy that I realized I was dyslexic and graphic. And what happened was I wasn't a rebel. I wasn't a lazy child that was sitting somewhere or twirling the thumbs. I'm actually a kind of what you call an A personality. So I kept hitting the systems, and I had to repeat three classes. I was
Hmm.
speaker of the class, so I was always good with humans. But I think that's the default. You have to be good with humans if you can't fit in the systems. And then I figured out by 30, because all my jobs were creativity related, and I felt the most valuable in the creative community, that I was an artist. And I don't actually, and this was the first introduction of what there's a difference between me and the system, between human and the system. And I thought, I don't need anybody to tell me I'm an artist or give me a prize or an accolade that I'm an artist. I'm an artist because I look at my jobs, and it was DJ, fashion show produce, media, television, and so on. So it was all the NBA. I brought the NBA to Vienna, the
Yeah.
national football things. So everything was creative
How did you end up from going from Vienna to California? That's
because I
slightly far
was
away.
trying to get school. I was trying to get the school done,
Huh.
and I failed and failed. And I did the economic GDE, whatever you have, the general education,
Yeah.
but I have no education, system education at all. I have no title, nothing. And I thought, because I was very Europe, and especially Holland right now is suffering from that because the humans cannot adapt to all the system rules and regulations.
Yeah.
Because you can't be human through systems. We are the gods of system, we create the systems, so you have to have human connection like we have here, at least if you use technology. And I thought America is better, and I knew from, not because I had problems, but I kind of gonna end up in America, not because, this is so great and I want to be better than everybody else, but I felt like the freedom was very appealing to me.
Yeah.
And then I got an au pair job, basically as a manager of a house and a butler.
Yeah.
And I got that, and that came here, and then formed the television company, and so on.
That's fascinating. How old were you when you moved over?
18, between 18 and 20, because I
Yeah.
first I visited first 18, then I go back, then I said, no, I need to get a job there because it's not just traveling, it's about the job.
Yeah.
I need to know more about it.
Let's talk about creativity. So when we catched up last time, we talked about um, the combination of innovation and corporates and people jumping out of the corporate world and trying to find out how they can build their own business. When you think about creativity and linking that to innovation, what comes to mind?
While I was creative, I also found that 97% of creative people, artistic people, are on the poverty level worldwide.
Yeah.
Now I'm asking you in the audience, look at the world. Everything is created. We are the gods of the system. It doesn't matter if it's a high rise or an invention or the extinguishing of diseases. We created all these systems, hospital, religion, and everything is created. So the first superpower that I define that human have inherent in them is creativity.
Yeah.
Our part of God, like that godlikely, we can also create, obviously in a much scaled down relationship, but we are the gods of systems. And that's why I'm saying we can adjust and adapt system to humanity and nature, but we cannot try to save nature or fixed humans with shots or whatever. We are part of nature. Nature wasn't created by us. So if we talk about systems, we can do anything. That's why I keep saying we should adapt systems to be human adapt, not humans. And you know about adaptation, right? You know about Iron Man. Even we use adaptation to make systems work.
Yeah.
The
Then
whole,
we follow that thread. There are people who are working in corporates like the big ones,
yeah,
and big ones, let's say plus 10,000 employees. There are
yeah,
people who are saying, no, I'm not creative, I can't do that.
because they're unaware. You're unaware of that you're doing everything. You're creating your life. You're saying, I'm going in this school, I'm doing this, I'm marrying this woman. You're creating. You look at everybody's home. Everybody's home looks different. And you created that environment that most fits your vibration. So you're unaware because, and this is what I found out why the people are all poor, the artists,
Yeah,
is because we looking at the product, and also art is systemized, meaning we're not looking at what it takes to create a podcast, the communication with your non-physical. This is not spiritual. This is just
yeah,
you have an inspiration, you have a communication. I'm gonna make this background, I'm gonna do this, I'm using this microphone, I'm gonna be only on the side, the other one is on the other side, and asks question, is very organized, the other not. So you constantly have that conversation with you, with your non-physical and physical. And the result is your podcast. The physical result is your podcast. And the big problem is we look at art as a product, and it has to look a certain way because it's themed as art in society. This is what art looks like.
yeah,
But there's no definition of art. Art doesn't ask, you have to have 100,000 followers, you have to have be successful, you get a Grammy, you get an Emmy, you
yeah,
get they don't say that. It's just the humans, that system that gives that product, that show, that artwork, that song, and a system accolade. And in systems, obviously, you have to be a specialist, right? Because it's like saying, I cannot do bookkeeping. You're not as good as a bookkeeper, but you still can do bookkeeping.
yeah,
And bookkeeper is just specialized, and that's the skill. That's what the only difference between an artist and a normal person is that the artist keeps communicating, and the communication with his non-physical gets clearer. And then when the clearer your communication is, the other person can recognize that communication. So everything we create, like in a business, this is the big thing. Everybody has that muscle.
yeah,
I want to be an Ironman tomorrow. I'm not going to be an Ironman tomorrow. And that's why I say I'm not an Ironman. But it might be possible. I don't know. I haven't tried it. You know what I
yeah,
mean? And people are very afraid because art is not definable. It has not fifth sales figures and all that stuff. Yeah, you can look at the history, but it's like, why should I pay for Basquiat $1 million? And he basically it's all not system relevant because he was a drunk, he was drug addicted, he was frustrated, he was a really disturbed human being, not in a bad way, but in a poor way. And he pissed on his paintings and all this stuff.
yeah,
The authenticity reflects in that. There's an authenticity in that communication that he had by creating. And that authenticity people like. Now, systems don't reward authenticity. Only on the top level. They want true and tried patterning. That a car has four wheels, it takes a very little energy. And so all these things, we combine them and make a hybrid, and now we make an electro. So it's always trying to get the most profitable things that we can sell, and that this is not creative.
yeah,
And if you start thinking like that, which keeps us all in check, systems keep us very much in check, and that's good. But to keep us at bay, that we're not expanding in the human potential, is a problem. And that's why we have the problems we have now, because we're trying, for example, political correctness, right? So the system, essential systems created gender difference, race difference, and now they want to define sexuality, right? You can't, when you have these racism, we have racism. So that's a problem that was created through systems, because the king didn't know, I need warriors, I need sent the warriors there. And the woman, okay, we don't know what the woman, it just cook and take care of the kids and feed the warriors. And that's how we separated the value of man and woman. And then we conquered lands, and the people look different. Okay, the conqueror is stronger. The people that we conquered and the slaves and all that stuff, okay, they look different. And so there must be minute in the value system, because in system everything has a value. Now the difference, I'm coming back to this because when you go in the artist community, you also have two leads in a play, for example. So the CEO of the art, right? You have two leads, but nothing goes if not the lighting, the stagehand, the intern, the sound guy, if not everything works together.
Yeah.
You don't have that. That's why I'm saying that's why art is a superpower, because it shows you us how humanity could function, also on a system level. Because in the system of art, it works. We need everybody. The CEO often has no idea what the guy that does the soles for the shoes, what he goes through. He's disconnected. Now,
Yeah.
if in the art, in a theater play, if you're disconnected, your play is over, because people go there to feel, and they cannot sense there's an authenticity. The lead thinks he's everything, and everybody else, or the second lead thinks she is everything or he is everything, and he wants to take all the glory. And people don't like that. It has to be the whole. And this is why people, they're so afraid of saying, okay, I'm an artist or I'm creative. And I said to him, and it really had a great question, because it was doing the same to me. People say, oh, I don't know, I'm not an artist, I'm a businessman. I said, don't even say that, because if I take the artistry of you away, you're not a businessman.
Yeah.
The moment I'm taking your artistry away, you're nobody. Because that you're relevant as a businessman is because you're an artist, and not because you're painting, but how you navigate monopoly, for the monopoly game we're in.
Yeah.
You are an artist. There's nothing more exploited than our monopoly game. You pay me $10, right, on a credit card, and four people make money. That's what I'm saying. This is the economic system is so exploited that if you're not an artist, if you're not creative, not manipulative, I'm just saying creative. That's why you have to manipulate, because people are not creative enough. So there's only certain people that are creative, and the other people, they're just manipulating. And that's why a system always supports manipulation. It never will. A system can kill 200,000 people in Russia or Ukraine, but if you kill me, you get in jail. So it's very judgmental what
Yeah.
it does and what's good for the system, or what's going on with football right now. This whole thing is
If we take that thread, how do you then teach someone to be creative? How do you get someone learning that, or opening up is maybe a better
opening
word?
up.
I don't know. How would you say that?
I,
How
w-
do we
I
teach?
would say opening up is the right thing. It's being aware. Because if
Huh.
you, the moment I say it's the art is, first of all, it's what we call is art world is the art business. And that's a business like anybody else. It's like a Walmart, a Kmart. It's to pay for the product.
Yeah.
And you judge the product on how many people like it or whatever. But the awareness that art and art creation, you need to separate the two. And the art creation is 100 times exponentially more valuable for humanity and human potential, and how we develop and what we learn about our species, than the product. The product is just a reflection of that conversation. But creation, and my podcast at the 30 seconds, the smart of art, is just 30 seconds of quotes. So you become aware. I try to mentor humanity about my findings. It's not that I invented that. I'm not the invented it, but I realized, oh, hey, through my neurodiversity, I can see these things. It's like
Yeah.
a superpower. I see this thing. I say, oh, there's more there. Yeah, and the more I dive into arts creation, the more I find out about how we are blind also to our systems, where we don't know. We think we are part of systems. We're not part of it. We're still part of nature. And we are always limited if we look at us through a system.
Yeah.
I'm a successful CEO and therefore I'm a great human. No,
Yeah.
that doesn't work. That is, yeah.
It's quite interesting, specifically when you talk about the big corporations, that
Yeah.
a lot of people want to be part of that system because this stepping up the ladder as part of the game is
Yeah.
fulfilling them. But then they end up, and myself included, I was on a very high position. And then you end up and it's not fulfilling you. And you think you have achieved everything what you have been looking for, but then you find out it's like, yeah, maybe not.
Yeah. You said the operative word fulfillment, which fulfillment is in the human realm. In nature realm, fulfillment is success.
Yeah.
So success is a system word like lazy. In nature, there is no lazy. There is no such thing as lazy
Yeah.
or obsolete. It doesn't give. Nature is 100% recyclable. It's perfect. It adapts constantly. It's constantly adapting. There's no stress. Nothing stress. Because you have stress, good stress or challenge because you exist. That's a given in nature. And also your worth is proven by you existing. You have worth.
Yeah.
But in systems, you don't. What you contribute to the system, if, for example, I would be better than you in a system, and you couldn't be as good as I, and I could give more for the system, I would get more money. And therein, I get blind because we do this for generation, and I think that now I have more worth than you, and it
Yeah.
doesn't work. It's like the art. That's why I say the art. Everybody has is important that everybody contributes with their strength, not who is the better or worse. And also, that's why leadership is so hard, which you
Yeah.
teach, right? Leadership is
Yeah.
so hard because they think it's a hierarchy. It's not a hierarchy. The leadership is that person that is the most self-aware, and that is most self-aware. Like what you just said, I was very high up, and I realized I'm not fulfilled. That's self-aware,
Yeah.
and that person has nothing else to do as a leader than make sure that everybody is balanced in the system, that everything is balanced. So you see there's a heat coming up, you give a little cold. There's this, bring it, and everybody's a superstar. You never look at it. Okay, these are the guys that grease the wheels, and then this guy is the middle management, and without sales, I cannot do it. You don't think ever that. You just make everybody feel their part. That's why I'm very much for sharing profits, sharing tips in a restaurant. I'm very much for that because and I was against it because I worked in a restaurant and they told me from now on we share the tips. And
Yeah.
I was a big tip getter. And I was like, no. And I was so against it. But my life changed like 180 degrees the moment we shared tips. It was you don't know what an leadership impact that had, that we all of a sudden shared the profits and everybody was working. Nobody would allow anybody to slack off or anything. It was harmonious because nobody was, oh, he gets more than me. It was gone.
Yeah,
It's
that's
amazing.
interesting. That's
Yeah.
linking that back to innovation. It's also interesting what you said is with the leader being aware and helping everyone to contribute in a way of that they understand what's going on. That's when innovation happens. It's not
Mhm.
when I push you into a corner and
Yeah.
I say you need to work 5 hours more and I watch you over the
Yeah.
shoulder. That's not working.
And you pull me out of balance.
Yeah.
So because where is what if as a leader, you and I talking about between two leaders. So when do I get the most out of a human being? Let's say I'm looking at it just from the system perspective. When I squeeze out 5 extra hours, or when I try to balance that person and say, take a half an hour off,
Yeah.
go half an hour early, or come half an hour later. When a person is balanced and has that thing, I can get everything out of it. If I want to exploit a human being, I keep him balanced and comfortable. And see, they try systemically, like Google, they try to do that and give him playground. but it's just that it needs to be authentic. It needs to be from human to human.
Yeah,
It can't be
yeah,
systemic. It cannot be systemic. Okay, we got to make playrooms. We got to give them great food. We got to give them a parking spot. All bullshit. They need to have that the power is in the whole. The power is in that play where there's two leads. The power is not in the brand and what you don't see, and everybody's happy to be part of it. And it's our view that we look at big companies like Apple or McDonald's or whatever. We look
yeah,
at those and say they are bigger than humans. No, when I look at those companies and say, "Oh my God, that's great! How did they do it?" or whatever, I think, okay, humans did that. I'm part of that species. I'm not saying I did it,
yeah,
but I'm saying that's a reflection of who we are.
yeah. If we link that to one of the things I found in one of your blogs is the creative voice. What is
Yeah.
a creative voice?
Creative voice is important to all that what we talked about. It's I in 2015 I created an artist movement because I know so many artists and my whole life was artists. And I ask very famous artists, is it what is that? What is your voice? What is that is the essence of your work? Song, painting, whatever. And almost nobody could tell me. I just found one person that really could explain why they do what they do and how. So I say, why are you doing what you're doing? Explain that verbally, and why you're doing it and how you do it. How give me the context of why you're creating, why you have green canvas only.
Yeah,
So give me the context of that thing, and also put always a title on the thing because it's a part of that voice because you want to define what you create. So you when you create words, then that helps people to understand. I know words are very limited, but if you know, and I have actually a sheet, a PDF I can send you from my course that I did, and there's 50 questions, and you can easily make that for businesses.
hmm,
Why you're doing what you're doing, and so define your puzzle piece as a company to fit in the whole of the monopoly game, not of humanity. And also in context, I would then say, so how does that help humans? Because if it doesn't help humans, you don't have to start any company. I'm sorry.
yeah,
There's no, if it doesn't contribute to the whole, there's so much product out there. We don't have the time even to find it. So we don't need extra product. This is not sustainable. It's against nature. We don't need more car companies. We have all the car. We need different forms of transportation, not more car companies.
yeah,
And I would say because we know also that advertising is stagnant for 50 years. It just shifts from one to another. So, what are we doing to us? This is awareness. What are we doing to ourselves, creating these new car companies, and then just people shift from one to another? They buy less Mercedes, they buy more Kias. This is what is the purpose in the big picture?
yeah.
It's bad for Mercedes, but what is in the big? So stealing each other with our life force. We're just taking from other, manipulating from other, whatever we that's just to survive, and we have to start living to enjoy living and not living to survive, which systems got us into that.
That's a very important one. One of the things I learned as well, when you get to a personal level that you are aware, like you mentioned, that you say, yeah, I'm stop living in the way I lived before because I don't want to anymore. I'm not trying to fit in. I figure out who I am and I'm just living in the way how I want to live. And
Yeah,
if some people are not okay with that, then it's their problem, not my problem. Because what I just see, a lot of people try to fit in as much as possible.
yeah, and their fear shames you. They have fear because they fit in and you don't. They
Yeah.
shame you when they say, Jens, you're not a human being. You're not a normal human being.
Yeah.
But normal cannot be defined. See, this is if you could define it, I would say, okay, we can all do it. But you can't define normal. You can't
Yeah.
because the whole thing is on shenanigans. The financial principles have become. It's great to if you create a hammer and I create a short and we don't need it, we can exchange with money. That is great. But when the financial principle, that simple exchange, becomes the sense of life, makes us all codependent and put us in fear that we say if we're not fitting in, we're dead tomorrow, which is and you see it in extremes where in communist country where people follow the rules and it doesn't work. It's just less than here, but humanity's everybody is a puzzle piece of the human weave. And that's what we have to realize is that there is no extra humans that are irrelevant, that we could just kill 200,000 in Russia. We don't. Every human is valuable because we are part of nature. Nature doesn't make mistakes. And I think that when we get aware of it, it's not, see, we can't even blame people. And you can't blame systems because on the other side of systems are humans. And when you're aware of this, I can't fight the system because people often waste their energy saying, I'm going to fight the system. You can't fight the system. There's other humans behind it.
Yeah.
And one human against many is always weak because more together. So you need to be aware that the system makes everybody lose. If you use the system like we use now, and that's why they're all collapsing, and not trusting humans' limitlessness, our power, our creativity, if you don't trust those things, you're gonna lose. Everybody loses because on the one side you create taxes, and on the other side somebody goes also a mother that wants to avoid paying taxes, and we all lose because we all wasting the energy, the life.
Yeah. So when you work with individuals or groups, how do you get them to find their awareness and get into their creativity and finding
And that's
that
what
for
I do.
themselves?
I basically make you aware of distinctions. Know your human superpowers, not what the system says.
Yeah.
Creativity, human discourse, but healthy, not I'm right, you're wrong.
Yeah.
There's never a discourse that worked if it's about against and for. It's again a system discussion where everybody loses their life force.
Let's get into the last part of the
Okay.
podcast where I'm asking a couple of questions that are maybe related and maybe not related. If you could work with a project that is impacting every human being on Earth, what project would you work with and why would you work with that project?
I don't think there's a system that can work all over the world because it's so limited.
Yeah.
Systems are limited. It can't fit everyone. We need many systems to adapt to the that uniqueness of every human is unique. You can the median systems work on median statistically. And if you don't fit in the median, you can't get everybody on this earth in a median. That doesn't work. There's too many people on the edges.
Yeah.
And those don't fit. And what are you gonna do with those?
Next
Thank you
question.
for that question. Excellent question.
What advice would you give to a young innovator?
Get a job and to support your innovation. No, like artists,
Yeah.
like an artist, get a job to enjoy creating, to enjoy innovating. Get a job that is simple. Don't get a CEO job. Get a restaurant job or something that pays the bills.
Yeah.
And then use your thing to enjoy what you're doing. That's what I do. It's what I did my whole life because I could never fit in. I was not elected CEO, and the jobs that I had, Arts Commissioner of Newport Beach, it's a free. It's you don't get paid for that.
Yeah. I like that because a lot of youngsters, they always want to get to the big hierarchy game, the big boss. But I agree, if you're interested in making art and creating things, that's the better version. You just get something that pays your bills and enjoy what you love to do, and maybe one day you can earn money with that. But it's not
Milk
the
the
not
moment.
the goal.
Milk the moment. I always say that in the arts. When you're creating, if you ever want to be as successful as an artist and fulfilled, first, fulfilled,
Yeah.
milk every moment while you're creating and said, I chose to do that. It's not, I have to do that.
Yeah.
And create the moment. Same for an inventor. You want to invent a new engine for a car that's sustainable, then get a job that could just get paid and then sit down and tinker with your friends. With your friends is often very good because you can all go together and you can gauge if they are betraying you or not. It's just just make a contract perhaps before that whatever comes out of this relationship will be distributed equally.
Yeah.
The power is always in together, not in the separation. That's why we have, everybody's individual, so we can't fit all together. We are not the same to fit together. We are individual to all fit together. So we have infinite possibilities of shuffling to get that human weave really good, and even then adjust it even better.
Yeah.
In that adjusting better, aligning, balancing like nature, we get more of the human potential. And our human potential is, as you're a great example for that, Iron Man, that shows you what you're capable of.
Yeah.
And it's not just mind over matter. It's not just mind. It's body, everything. You have to think about everything,
The combination, that's true.
It's the all. It's not, oh, we're doing all this mind experience with you, and then you can just bite yourself through an Iron Man. That doesn't work.
Yeah, no.
It's the whole, always the whole. We are in a holistic nature environment. It's always the whole.
Love that. Last question.
Okay.
Where can people find you and how can people contact you?
That I don't know. MichaellM.com. Michael with 2 L's. MichaellM.com. It's my social, my LinkedIn, and everything. You can connect with me.
Yeah. I will put the links, of course, as well into the show notes so people can straight away find you. And as well, the awesome podcast you do. I love the 30-second version. I've never seen that before. When I listened to a couple of them, I was like, oh my God, that's so clever. So
but it's really
congratulations on that.
condensed.
Yeah.
It's really condensed, right? And even though it would take you only 2 hours to listen to all my episodes, 135, but everything is really deep. It really makes you think from a total different angle.
Yeah, it's really,
all
really,
about
really
crazy.
nice.
Yeah.
I love it.
Thank you. Thank you, Hans.
Michael, thank you very much for being on the show. It was a pleasure to have you.